Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, he who remains. I am also the Phantom Menace, and I am the master of the deceptive arts, and I've come back to you once again as the voice of the Vasectomites. And before we start today's video, I just wanted to tell you the core message of this platform, and I'm going to repeat it here once again. Freeze your sperm and get yourself a vasectomy before it's too late and before you do anything that you're going to regret, especially start a new relationship or go into these romance wars. You need to have a permanent change in your life that gives you a meaningful advantage. And I believe that meaningful advantage is to be found in our two-step solution. First, freeze your sperm, and secondly, get a vasectomy. But while we are discussing the topic of change, which is really what I wanted to talk about, I wanted to not just talk about change, but discuss what change actually looks like in the real world. When in truth, most things don't really change. Now, I say that change, real change, is permanent, right? And the change that you will see generally in the world is an indication of impermanence. And the change that happens is never really in a permanent ways, right? In a permanent way, rather. And while there are constant alterations and modifications happening constantly around us, the true permanent change that we are looking for is generally something that eludes most people and most circumstances in life. Things alter, they modify, they increase, they decrease, but they don't actually really change. This is also true of these knee benders and this counterpart. Now, this might sound like a contradiction from a person who promotes change and evolution on a daily basis, but let's take an actual close look at what does or doesn't change in actual circumstance in the real world. Now, I said that real change is permanent, right? There are to be, let's say, for the world, right, to exist, there have to be some constants, right? There have to be fixed constants which create what we experience as our reality. For instance, we need to have air, we need to have water, we need to have food and such things, clothes, shelter, transportation, right? These have to always be there, right? Along with things like weather changing, aging, rather, with the passage of time, right? Everyone and everything around us ages, right? This is what I mean by altering. It ages with time, and we will wither away and we will be replaced by evolution, right? But the world in itself remains, right? So what I mean is that while there are things that are constantly in flux, what you could call evolving, right? There are things that have to constantly be there for us to experience these things as our reality, right? The things that keep us alive, the things that keep us going, right? That is what I mean when I say that things have altered with certain modifications, but things don't really change, right? So the things in and around the world, those things will move and shift and evolve, but the world itself remains, right? Think of it like this. Think of your school, right? Wherever you went to school, the school that you attended as a child. Today, that school is probably still there with all the same classrooms and possibly even the same furniture and so forth, right? Same number of tables, same number of chairs, a board in the front, a teacher with students, and so forth, and so forth. Those features will be constant. Now, the school might even change its name, right? They may change its name, they may change the colors and so forth, but the building will still be there. The foundation, the walls, the classroom, the administration buildings. You could walk around that school, know where everything is, and everything will be completely different, and yet still the same, right? So the furniture might be different, right? So the furniture might be modern and updated, some, but not all. Some of it might still be the same, right? All the students, the teachers, the admin, right? All the staff will be different, right? The Some of the activities, some of the lessons might also be different and updated for modern times. The methods that they use to gain the knowledge, the information, might be updated to represent modern times. But the school itself, the school still remains. Think of a hospital perhaps where you were born or where you were admitted once many years ago, decades ago even, right? Think of a shopping mall where you once shopped in at some point in your past or in your youth, right? What you'll see in the hospital is that all the doctors are different, all the nurses are different, all the patients have changed, right? All the assistants, all the admin staff, all the security, all of them completely different. But the hospital remains. And the same is true of the shopping mall. The shops, all different, selling different things. The customers are all different. Even if it's the same customers, they are all much older than what they were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, right? And what you'll find is that those customers are now shopping for different things. So maybe 25 years ago they'd be out buying like a fancy CD player or DVD player of some kind. But what they're buying now is completely different to what they would have bought several years ago, right? But the mall remains, the hospital remains, right? The school remains in the same location, doing essentially the same work and performing effectively the same function, right? And these are the kinds of stable things that we have in our lives that create what we experience as reality, right? Let me give you another example, something that I think is closer to where we are moving today's discussion, right? Think of a stage in a theater, right? The stage, right, is the same, right? The stage is the same. However, depending on the play, depending on the performance, the characters will be different, the actors will be different, the plot will be different, the actions will be different, the script will be different, right? But the stage, the theater, it's the same stage and it's the same theater and it's the same platform that can accommodate an endless amount of performances from comedies to dramas to musicals to tragedies and to romance stories, right? Just as one world, one earth, and one reality and one timeline can accommodate endless eventualities, right? This is where we are now, right? Where with today's edification. And what today's edification is going really to look at and and describe in the modern times is how the stage is still the same, but the performances have become completely different, right? The characters have changed. The performance may have gone from a comedy to a romance story to a tragedy, which is really what happens in the romance wars. And what you'll find, like I said, is that one stage can accommodate different plays, all with different types of scripts. And what we're going to look at today is the modern dating script, right? Is and that's what today's edification is going to describe, right? Today's article is going to give us some modern dating terms that actually describe what is happening in these romance wars. And what you'll see is that effectively every generation, right, has their own terms to describe the reality that they are seeing now. So, for instance, there was a generation that had things like Game Boys. They had things like Walkmans and DVD players and CD players and floppy disks, right? And fax machines and so forth. And those were the terms that were used to describe a certain type of reality. Those were tools and activities and engagements that described a particular type of reality. And now, or rather, a different type of play on the same stage, right? A different reality, but a different type of play on the same stage. And now, in 2026, we have different words, different vocabularies, right, that actually describe what I would say is typical mating behaviors, human dating, mating behaviors and strategies that will manifest themselves and pronounce themselves essentially in the romance wars. Now, many of these behaviors older people will see in themselves, right? And say, oh, well, we had a different term for this, right? We had a different term for that. That's not because the behavior so much has changed, but everything around humanity has changed. The way we travel, the way we eat, the way we live, the way we communicate, the tools we have. All those tools are completely different. So consider a time where if you wanted takeaways, you had to get up and go there to get the takeaways and then take them home, take them away, take them home so that you could eat them, right? Now, they bring the takeaway to your home. You just call them up or send them a message or order on your phone, pay, and in however many minutes, about an hour or so, they'll deliver what you want. Right? They'll deliver what you want. Now, that hour is how much it would have cost you to, in terms of time, to go there, pick up the food, wait there while they cook it, package it, and then drive back home, and then hope that it's still hot enough to eat by the time you get back home, right? That and then also the convenience of not having to sit and eat in a restaurant when you'd much rather be, at home watching TV. So they'll bring the food to you now. Now, while this is standard, normal practice, this is something that is completely new. And the fact that now we can have not just our food, our packages, you can actually get someone to come to your house, pick up your laundry, go take it, wash it, fold it, iron it, and bring it straight back to you. This is really, and you can pay a subscription for this. So they'll come at a certain time every week to pick up your laundry, right? So they'll come every Friday, 3 o'clock, pick up the laundry, and bring it back Monday afternoon or something to that effect, or like Sunday or something like that, right? This is an indication of the type of world that we are living in right now. And while for many people, this is just how it's always been. For billions of people, this is how it's always been. They've always been able to order. They've always been able to get things picked up and done for them. They've always been able to do that. But for many people, this is a complete dynamic shift, right? The world was never like this. You could not bring anything to you. You had to go out and get it for yourself. This includes your post and your packages, right? You couldn't just order things and have them delivered to you, right? This is an indication of how the same stage, the same world is accommodating a new and different type of reality, right? The same stage is accommodating a new and different type of play with new scripts, with new players, and a completely new dynamic, right? Many of the terms that we will analyze today, you may find that as an older viewer and practitioner of the deceptive arts, you've already experienced some of them. For many of you, you might be experiencing them right now. And for others, these may be your future. And this is how, again, the same world can accommodate different timelines. Where you're looking at one thing and you're looking at it from the perspective of the past, while another person is looking at the same thing from the perspective of the future. And yet another person is going through that dynamic right now, right? It's all relative. It's all relative. This is what the theory of relativity is. And this is why time travel is such a problem, right? But the purpose that analyzing these terms serves for us is to look at the behaviors, the circumstances, and actions that these words describe and the motivations behind them. Not only that, but also the tools that are used in this reality, this completely new reality. One thing that just came into my mind as I'm moving along is the idea that things are so completely different now. in terms of, like I said before, you had to go out and get everything that you wanted. Even if you could just drive there 5, 10 minutes, whatever, you still had to make the effort. Now you can pay someone to make the effort for you. In the future, people who live now, people who are experiencing the pickup delivery smartphone world, there will come a new technology that will supersede this technology in a way that we cannot imagine. And for some people, they believe that this technology is already here. A hyper intuitive technology is really where we're going, right? Where things become not just easy, they become entrenched and interwoven into our reality. That's going to create a whole different type of dynamic for future human beings. And the people that are living this reality now, that are new to this reality, when they see that transition, they are going to be just as mind blown, I beg your pardon, as what older generations are when they see just how quickly, how easy this technology is. The fact that you can order food and have it delivered to you, and it's at the perfect temperature as if you were getting it from the restaurant. That was something that, quite frankly, was unimaginable, right? At a certain time in life. The fact that it has manifested itself to reality now is miraculous. And what comes in the future is going to be so mind-blowing that current youth won't be able to understand it, right? The same way that older generations are really, while they can see the benefits of it, they can still be hesitant to utilize this technology to its fullest, right? And that hesitancy is an indication that you are used to a particular type of reality. And while elements of that reality may still exist, the truth is that world is completely gone. And it's a completely different world with completely different scripts. And we need to analyze that script for ourselves. And we're going to do that today. For older bachelors and vasectomites that are still hoping to date, this indicates what you can expect, quite frankly, on the dating scene. It is no longer a situation where you are meeting people face to face all the time on your first interaction. Your first interaction is no longer a face to face interaction, it's a digital interaction. The face to face comes later, right? There is an extra filter that you need to overcome even before you get to shake a person's hand, right? This is a completely different world for people that are dating. And there are people that are still hoping to date like it's the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and you're about to get the shock of your life. For you older knee benders and counterparts that are married and suffering and wallowing in the misery of marriage and legal matrimony and the dark dimension, you might believe that you are exempt from these outcomes, and you may very well be for now. But while you wrongly believe that you are safe and isolated from what is happening in this reality, consider that your children and your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, people that are close to you and in close proximity to you, are experiencing these outcomes. But not just one or two of these things that we're going to read. They are experiencing a combination of them simultaneously. All right? And should you, God forbid, should you get divorced one day, which is actually pretty likely, right? It's pretty likely that you're going to get divorced. But should you get divorced, then guess what? You will be in this reality too, and you will have to learn these terms for yourself in order for you to participate. Remember also that we now live and work and date in a fully digitized world. And that poses endless complications that even you cannot foresee. So even if you decide to not participate in these issues, everyone else around you is going to be participating. And eventually, what affects them is going to affect you. Eventually, the way they communicate, you are going to be induced to communicate the same way. And eventually, even you are going to become digitized, or a digitized version of yourself will be created for the sake of dating. This is undeniable. If you are in fact intending to date at some point in this reality, you are going to need to digitize yourself, or a digital version of yourself is going to need to exist. And that is going to pose problems for you that you cannot foresee or anticipate, especially with these jealous benders. If you come out and create a tremendous profile that attracts people, benders are going to know that eventually their counterpart is going to be attracted to the same profile, which is going to be a problem, especially if you are going to be anticipating things like jealousy. So, yes, it is critical for everyone involved in the romance wars to know what things are called and to know what things are termed, so that you know exactly what you are suffering through. When you engage in these romance wars, these modern day romance wars, you're going to suffer tremendously. I promise you that. And one thing that you are not anticipating is the cost of things. A great many people are still treating the romance wars with a mindset of the past, but you're also anticipating the cost of the past. You think that going out, can cost you $20, $30, or however much it is, when in fact the price now has tripled. You're not spending $20, $30. You're really spending something more, close to about 100 to 120. You can expect to spend triple or quadruple the amount of money that you would have 5 years ago. You can expect to spend at least 5 times the amount of money that you would have 10 years ago. And the people that you're trying to date, if they're age appropriate, they've aged 5 or 10 years since the last time you were out here. Like, it's a completely different world. And a lot of people are still living in the past. And I did a video about living in the past, and I think that a lot of people are living so much in the past that they still talk like they are in the past. And I'm one of those people. I use very formal language. But this is deliberate. This is deliberate. I'm deliberately avoiding using slang or short language from a particular era, because I know that slang and short language is not going to be efficient and effective in this era, in this timeline, and in this reality. But I know that the common language will. I know that in a professional environment, you would speak as I do in order to be understood. You would forgo many of these words and much of this jargon, and speak the common tongue, the common language, in order to be understood. But if you're going to be participating in the romance wars, the common tongue and the common language might not do. You might need something more specific. And also, before we start the article, also remember that if you're going to be continuing these romance wars, this dating game, you're going to need to probably update your vocabulary and dating vocabulary every 4 or 5 years. So, while learning these words is going to update you for now, in 5 years' time, when the next generation comes over, they're going to change this entire landscape. And they're going to use completely different words to represent a new reality and a new timeline and a changing world, right? This is why you need to freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy. You need a permanent change if you're going to participate in these romance wars. Today's article is entitled 21 Terms That Explain Modern Dating. It says, here's your chance to learn the latest dating terms. It was written by Dr. Gary W. Lewandowski Jr., PhD. That's a mouthful. Dr. Lewandowski, that's a long title, but Gary W. Lewandowski Jr., PhD, I believe it's PhD in psychology, but I'm not certain. This was reviewed by Devin Fry. I think it's also Dr. Devin Fry, and it was posted very recently on the 20th of January 2025, right at the beginning of the year, to get you ready for the dating year ahead. Of course, this was many months ago. Or maybe not too long ago. It's still in the same, time frame, time region. This comes from our friends over at Psychology Today, and there is the direct link to the article itself. There is some information that I left out, but only because that information was repetitive and not very helpful overall. So here's the article. It starts, the weird terms give insight into dating trends. So the thing about this is that it doesn't just tell you, what the terms are. It actually describes what people are going through. So what people are doing to others and what others are doing to you in these romance wars. It continues, much of the new dating vocabulary sounds odd, for example, zombieing. However, these terms offer a glimpse into the changing landscape of modern dating itself. Indeed, it does. While the convenience of modern technology makes connections more convenient than ever before, yes, don't forget the technology, people are also lonelier. That sounds counterintuitive until you realize how many of the latest dating terms describe creative ways to end up alone by being ghosted, cloaked, fizzled, or breadcrumbed. Or just listen to that. These are all the different terms that they describe the various levels of your loneliness, right? So have you been ghosted? Are you being cloaked? Are you being fizzled? Or are you being breadcrumbed? We're going to find out what all of that means. That sounds terrifying. It sounds emotionally terrifying. Imagine being breadcrumbed. I wonder what that means. Despite concerns about loneliness, people are often reluctant to date because modern dating has introduced a new level of deceit. Oh, that's right there, along with our language, deception. So yes, go ahead and be deceptive in these romance wars. People are lying to you too. If she's wearing makeup, that's a deception, right? And falsus in unus is falsus in omnibus. That's Latin for if one thing is false, everything is false, right? So if she's out there wearing makeup and a wig, oh, you can forget about that. There's no honesty coming your way, not one little bit. While it's true that lying and misrepresentation have always been a part of dating, I told you. I told you people were lying to you. And this article confirms it. It's true that lying and misrepresentation have always been a part of dating. So if you coming out here trying to be honest with these people, I'm telling you, man, you're just going to be deceived. No one has been deceived more than me. Of course, I've deceived a lot of people too, but I've also been deceived. In fact, I don't think I've ever been told the truth, not by a counterpart. When I think about it, I don't think there's anything that's ever been true. The only things that the counterpart has said are true are the things were demonstrably true and provable. right? So you could demonstrate and see and prove that these things are true. Where you look at the numbers and she says, I have 1,000, and you look at the numbers and she has 1,050. It's like, oh, you do have 1,000. It's not 950, it's 1,050, right? But otherwise, I'm absolutely certain that I've always been deceived. That's why I don't feel bad about deceiving these people. It's not in relationships. I don't feel nothing about deceiving people in relationships. At work and other places, maybe, but in relationships, man, you should be lying to that person every single day. Technology, especially on dating apps, has amplified the lies, right? So the lies haven't gotten worse, they've just gotten worse. For example, you could experience kitten fishing. I don't know what that means. Love bombing, we know what that is, or woke fishing. Woke fishing, kitten fishing. Why is everyone fishing? Uh, Finally, because modern dating is less reliant on physical proximity, i.e., partners living in the same hometown, it enables daters to keep their dating experiences separate from their everyday lives. The result is that you can suffer the indignity of pocketing or roaching. Oh, what does that mean? Pocketing and roaching. But effectively, it means that people are dating everyone from everywhere now. It's not a question of you're just dating in your own home country or dating in your city. No, you can date in your city, in your province, in your town, in your country, overseas, right? In your region, in your continent, and you could do it all from your phone. This is the truth. And you need to understand that people have no limits in terms of dating. It's really as simple as going online, seeing a picture of somebody from Honduras and Guatemala while you are in Abu Dhabi or in New Delhi, and you like that picture, and in no time at all, you're on a flight to Guatemala. It's just that simple. And if you can afford the plane ticket and the hotel, you could be in Guatemala in 24 hours. There is a flight from New Delhi to Guatemala at least 3 or 4 times a week. And that is a rare type of connection. Like, that's a difficult connection. You'd have to probably go to Europe, then to the United States, then go ahead and fly down to South America. But you can make that trip in 24 hours. You can really make that trip in 24 hours. In fact, you could make that trip with one stop. You could go from Asia to Europe to South America. Bam, 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 in no time at all, right? Less than 24 hours. So really, people are interconnected from all over the world, and you will never see the threat coming. You wouldn't even know who is checking her out or who she's checking out, right? It's a completely different world and a completely different landscape, and you should not be trusting anyone, not for a single second, especially in these romance wars. Because you might think, well, I'm the richest guy in this town, I'm the richest guy in my country. But she could just like someone just because they're foreign. Just because somebody who's foreign has shown attraction to her. And that in itself is a boost to say, hey, I can get attention from people all over the world. You can't beat that. You really can't beat that. The winning move is not to play the game, I'm telling you, right? And if you do, man, it has to be on a super temporary basis. You cannot be committing, especially if somebody got a smartphone. Then the number one red flag for me personally is a smartphone. I don't trust anyone with a smartphone, not a man, not a woman, not a child. Child got a smartphone, that's a problem. Because I know that child is doing the same things I'm doing on that internet. And that is a problem. And if you think your kids aren't doing the same things that you're doing on the internet, oh, that just completes the circle of deception. That just completes the circle of deception, because I guarantee you, your kids are absolutely doing the exact same things that you do on the phone. They have the same apps that you do, they have the same internet, and they have access to all the same information, right? And they have the same inclinations. So you can be sure they're up to something. Let's continue the article. The importance of knowing new dating terminology. Getting familiar with these terms will remove some of the mystery from dating and give you more confidence in navigating the sometimes confusing experience of modern dating. Sometimes, he says, sometimes it's confusing. No, it's always going to be confusing. And moving forward, it's going to be nothing but chaos. So the chaos starts with the word benching, right? I wonder if you've ever been benched. Benching means keeping someone around as a backup option by stringing them along, also known as cushioning or back burner. Okay, so this is what some may have called the friend zone. So they're just keeping you there, just keeping you warm, just in case, right? They're just stringing you along, right? Just cushioning you, keeping you on the back burner. Oh, that's terrible, right? Oh, that's terrible. This is how it starts. So you want to come in with someone and you want to be number one, but there's already somebody there that's number one, number two, number three, number four, and number five. And there's a few people on the bench already, and they just keep you on the bench. And so you're in the reserves. You're in the reserves. I would never let somebody put me in their reserves. I would just as soon stop talking to you immediately, right? Immediately. I don't care what options you have. You know what I mean? You put me on the bench, or you'll never hear from me again. You know, when I say let's go, we're going. If you still got to decide, I'm out. I'm making the executive decision. I'll make the executive decision. I don't have no problems with making decisions. Really, I don't. I just end the whole thing one time. Breadcrumbing is the next one, which is a verb. So benching is a verb, an action word. So a verb is an action word and a noun is a naming word. So breadcrumbing, the next one, leading someone on with daily check-ins or flirting messages with no intention of pursuing a relationship. This has happened to me. But this happened to me with a counterpart that I was intimate with. And then suddenly I hadn't seen them in a while, but I kept getting messages. So like every day we're texting. And I just realized that, hey, wait a minute, I haven't seen you in a while. And the truth is, and I said to the counterpart, I don't even know if I'll ever see you again. And the counterpart took it for granted that this meant that I was threatening her. And it wasn't. I just made a realization on the spot. I was like, you know what? I haven't seen you in a long time. So you're obviously with somebody else, right? And when am I going to see you? And the counterpart was like, no, you can see me wherever, whenever you want. And I was like, man, I'm going overseas. I'm leaving. I'm going to another country right now. You know what I mean? And to be honest, this is what she didn't know. She didn't know that I was going abroad. And I'd said that I hadn't seen you in a long time. And I said, I really don't know when, I'm going to see you again. She said, well, you can see me anytime. And I was like, no, I can't. I really cannot. And so, I then went and traveled abroad. Haven't seen them since. Haven't seen them since. But I was getting those messages all along, and I was responding, and I was sending them, and she was responding. And eventually, you just stopped sending the message. And when I stopped sending the messages, she still kept sending the messages. And I was like, no, it doesn't make any sense. Again, I must be texting you and not seeing you, not getting anything out of this. No, you know, definitely I've been breadcrumbed. Definitely I've been breadcrumbed. I just didn't know I was being breadcrumbed. I thought I was being shortchanged. I thought I was putting in something and getting nothing in return. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. But now I know the ancient one has been breadcrumbed. Cloaking, another verb. Not showing for a date and then blocking all communication. I don't think that's ever happened to me. Where where I make plans with somebody and they don't show up, and then I call them and then they don't pick up, right? Usually I find that most people will show up for dates just because they want to do something nice, right? People like doing nice things. So generally I find that somebody will show up for a date unless they have somewhere better to be. Like, even if somebody has like a boyfriend or something, if the boyfriend's not taking them out, they'll definitely accept a night out from somebody else. Because otherwise, when's the next time they're gonna go out? I mean, when are they really, really gonna go out next? You know? So they'll take that opportunity, especially if they haven't been out in a very long time. They'll take the opportunity, right? But I think then what they'll do is block you. After they've been on the date, then they'll block you, but not before that. Dry dating, a noun, going on dates but not drinking alcohol to allow a more genuine and authentic connection. Okay, don't know what that means. Also known as sober dating. So you go out just for the food, not for the drinks. This is me. This is me, but I'm different. Like, I will insist that you drink, right? I will insist that you drink something, even though I may not, right? Even though I don't drink at all. So I'll probably have some 0% alcohol, and I'll be buying the shots. So if you are not drinking and I am not drinking, which I never do, I find that that's going to be a problem, right? I find that people, not because there's like a problem with sobriety, but I find that people really enjoy themselves very, very much when they are inebriated. This is why they sell alcohol in nightclubs. If they didn't sell alcohol in nightclubs, no one would go, right? Absolutely no one would go. Nobody's gonna go to nightclubs for the music, right? I don't care how good the music is. People will go to a place that has bad music but has good alcohol. And since I don't drink myself, I really don't mind if people drink around me, right? I mean, it's annoying, it's irritating. Actually, I do mind, but I understand it and I would encourage it, right? Because once you're drunk, you're useless. Like, then, you know, if I wanted to rob a person, I'd rob a drunk person. I would never rob a sober person. Sober people are very difficult. They're all about their wits and calm, right? But a drunk person, we can rob a drunk person. So, yeah, no. I mean, I will dry date, but no dry dating for you. Not if you're dating me. Dry texting. Is this when you text somebody sober? Let's see. Sending minimal effort, short, limited, and non enthusiastic responses in conversation due to a lack of interest or willingness to put in effort. I have received and sent messages like this, right? So I think everybody eventually gets to a point where they have limited non-enthusiastic responses because of a lack of interest. Now it may very well, or unwillingness to put in effort. It may not be that the person is tired of you. They may very well just be tired themselves, or they may just not interested in the conversation or the topic, right? So I mean, there I start going on about the bachelor life, talking about my vasectomy, talking about how good, jet skis and all that is. And I can imagine that not everyone would be interested in that, and not every counterpart would be interested in that. So if I'm going on and on about that, I can imagine how somebody would lose, enthusiasm, for those type of issues. I have issues myself that the counterpart discusses that I have no interest in. Because most of the time the counterpart is talking about other people, and there I am talking about myself. Our next word is fizzling. This is a verb, gradually losing interest in a relationship until it fades out without formal closure. Man, that's terrible. Just think of all the ways that you can be left on the side. Benching, you could be benched, you could get breadcrumbing, you could be cloaked. These all mean being left on the side, by the way. So you're interested in somebody and they're not interested in you. They could fizzle you out, dry text you, right? I mean, look at fizzling, gradually losing interest in a relationship until it fades out without formal closure. So you sort of just let each other go, right? Slowly, instead of texting 3 times a day, you text once every 2 days, then once a week, then once a month, and you never text again, right? And you don't even know what you were texting about. So yeah, imagine that. Imagine that. So these are the things that are actually happening in relationships. And when you go out dating, this is what's going to happen to you. You know, they might bench or breadcrumb you. You might be cloaked completely, or they might show interest in you and then let it just fizzle. Imagine putting all your time into somebody, and then they dry text you. And then after that, they just fizzle you out. And once you fizzle out, they cloak you. Oh, and there you are wondering what's going on. Meanwhile, she's with another man, and he is with another woman. And you're just standing there waiting. Future proofing. Oh, this should be good. Prioritizing a potential partner's long term potential and alignment with your future goals. Prioritizing a potential partner's long term potential. So, what they're talking about here is trying to determine your future income, looking at what kind of job you're doing now and the growth prospects of that. That's why, like, counterparts will date lawyers, you know, even a lawyer with a bad job, because a lawyer can move from having a bad job to a great firm in no time. Like today you're here, tomorrow you're there. You can go from working in a tremendous firm to being president. That's the trajectory of lawyer. You could be in power, you could have wealth, you could have success, all of that, right? If you play your cards right. So if you say plumber, what they know is that you're not going to be president, right? If you say, I don't know, there's certain jobs where people know you're not going to rise to a certain level. So if you say, I'm an academic, I'm a lecturer, people will date a lecturer, even if you're not making a lot of money, because you could move to a prestigious university and nail it overnight, right? And you could go from there to president. The potential is there. So when people are looking at your potential, they'll align their ambitions with your potential. This is absolutely what the counterpart does. This is absolutely what the counterpart does. They'll say, well, in 10 years he'll have a car, house, all those things, and I could just take those from him, right? And get the alimony and the child support and all that. This is all very well calculated. And this here, future proving, it proves what I've been saying all along. It proves what I've been saying all along. The winning move is just not to play the game. Because you might be going in it thinking, oh, well, I have potential, I have a bright future, but I have a lot of love to give. And they'll hear the potential, they'll hear the bright future, and they'll ignore all the love that you have to give. And that's going to leave you heartbroken. But yeah, future proofing, it's a thing. It's a thing. Ghosting is our next word. This is a very popular term. When someone disappears and drops all communication out of nowhere without any explanation. Just think of all the different ways that you could be left out or exploited, right? So this is, I wonder if this is different from cloaking. No showing for a date and then blocking all communication. More or less the same. More or less the same thing, right? You are left out in the lurch. When someone disappears and drops all communication out of nowhere without any explanation. I think this is while you're still dating, right? So if somebody breaks up with you and then drops all communication, that's not ghosting. It's when you're still together, right? And you say, "Oh, I love you, babe. I'll see you tomorrow. Love you too." Hang up, disappear, never speak to them again, right? That's probably because they're a crazy person. But yeah, you can do that. You can do that, or you can have that done to you. Now imagine just, waking up the next day feeling in love, calling someone, and nothing. Going to their profile, trying to see if they're still online, and you've been blocked. You can see that, oh, wait. And then you use your fake profile, because everybody's got a fake profile, right? You use your fake profile to see if that person is still there, and yeah, they're still there. So, they're just blocking you officially, but on the fake profile, they're still going on. On your fake profile, they're still going on. So, oh yeah, get yourself a fake profile, people. Get yourself two. You know what I mean? It's all about information. And let them block you on the one so they think that you're gone, and then there you are on the other. Hardballing is another verb. From the start, being upfront and completely honest about what you want in a relationship. I think this depends on who you are and how much money you have. If you're paying for whatever you want, you can demand whatever you want. But if you're just coming and, hoping that people will give you exactly what you want just because you're being honest, I don't think that's going to happen for you. I think they'll listen to you and then you'll be ignored, or the counterpart will do what they do, which is to work against you, especially if they don't see like an immediate benefit, or if they what was the term now, if they are future proofing. There you go, I already forgot the terms. Unless they're like future proofing, you know but trying to be honest with what you want, sure, for some people it'll work. For other people, you'll just get rejected, right? You come in with that hardball, talking about, this is what I expect from you. Not going to happen. It's the same thing like trying to hold people accountable. Like, no, you're not holding anyone accountable. The next one is kitten fishing, which is a verb, a more subtle form of deceit where you mislead others, typically online, without any blatant lies or misrepresentation. So it's a less extreme version of catfishing. A more subtle form of deceit where you mislead others, typically online, without any blatant lies or misrepresentation. So this is lying by omission, right? So this is like taking a picture of yourself next to a Lamborghini, next to a Ferrari, next to a Bugatti, next to a Porsche, all kinds of things. And but none of those cars are yours. And every one of your pictures is with you in a supercar, and none of those cars are yours. So you're not saying that these are my cars. You're just saying, here I am, and there's the car. But you never actually make the connection that this isn't your car, or the disconnection that this isn't your car. So you let people fill in. So you give people, all the right information, but in the wrong sequence, so that they fill in the gaps by themselves. Terrible, terrible way of deception, but it can work. It can work. I know I have a lot of pictures with a lot of cars that I don't own. A lot of cars that I don't own. Some of those cars I've never even been in, but there's me, there's the picture. You know, our counterparts do this all the time, by the way. They'll take a picture of themselves holding a bag that they don't own, or doing something where they're not. They'll beg you to get on your boat. Like, they'll stand there begging the whole day. And then the minute you let them, touch the boat or get on the boat, they'll take a million pictures and act like they own it. And you won't be in any of those pictures, you know? It says loud looking, which is a noun, making it clear you're keeping your options open and looking for a new partner. Loud looking is making it clear that while I'm dating, I'm still looking for other partners. Oh, terrible. Dressing or presenting yourself in an attention grabbing way, sometimes while you're still in a relationship. Oh, yes. So, this is when you're taking your girl out to eat and she dresses like she's looking for other people to date. right? So when she gets people's attention, she'll say, "Oh, I don't know why all these men would come to me while I'm dressed in a mini skirt and some lingerie. Oh, I don't know why all these men would come to me while I have my makeup and my hair done and I sprayed hormones and pheromones all over myself and I got these high heels, the highest heels and the shortest dress. Oh, I don't know, you know, and you're standing there like, yeah, it's because you look like that. And let's be honest, and I know you say, well, I always look like this. No, you don't. No, you don't. You were at home in those 5-day pajamas all day, all night for days. And you are only dressed like that now because you know you can get the attention of other men, right? And that's the only way they're doing it. That's the only reason, right? So they're making it clear through their actions, maybe not so much their words, but through their actions, that they're looking for another partner even while they are with you. Love bombing is one that we've all become very popular, familiar with. It's become quite popular. It says giving someone excessive affection, attention, flattery, or gifts in a manipulative attempt to quickly win them over. This is what the counterpart actually wants, by the way. They want all that. They want the dates, the trips, the flowers, all the things that you do to make them feel special, right? But if they wanted to feel like you're making an effort. So they wanted to feel like it's difficult for you and you had to work extra hard to win their approval, right? So if you're doing all this affection, flattery, gifts, flowers, and all kinds of things, but like me, you're spending like 1%. Like you're only spending 1%, maybe less of 1% of your income. Even if you buy her the most expensive things, she won't appreciate that. She wants to feel like you went out of your way and risked something for her approval, right? So when that ends, she'll feel like, well, I was manipulated. Well, that's what you wanted. You wanted the gifts, you wanted the flowers, you wanted the love, you wanted the trips, you wanted the attention, you wanted the money, you wanted all of that, and you wanted it to be hard, and it was. And eventually it ends, and you want them to keep trying, and it's just not sustainable. Men and women do this, and eventually it just becomes too expensive. And all you get in return is that person saying, good job. And that is not enough. That is really, really not enough. Once you've broken the bank and went excessive on someone, just for them to say great job, it's not enough. That's why love bombing ends so quickly. Even to people who can afford it, it's just not worth what you're giving, and what you're getting just doesn't work out. It's just not worth it. Orbiting is another verb, and it means engaging with someone's social media, liking photos, leaving occasional comments to stay on their radar, but not initiating direct communication. Okay, so you just there gathering information and planting some of your own, but they know you're there. I suppose if you like enough pictures, listen to enough videos, leave enough comments, they'll see you're there. But you're not making a direct approach. You're not saying, hey, let's go on a date. What you're doing effectively is making yourself available, but avoiding rejection, right? Because you know that once she says no, anything after that, quite frankly, is illegal, right? So if she says no and you say something to try and convince her to say yes, that is quite frankly illegal. Even if she says no and then she turns around and says yes immediately, she can always say she said no first, right? So you have to remember that it has to be a yes all the way. One no is a disqualifier. That's really how I disqualify people. She says no to me for anything, even as simple as would you like something to drink, and she doesn't want anything to drink, she has to just take it, right? If I say, would you like a bottle of water? And she says, no, thank you, I've got one already, that's a disqualifier for me. In legal terms, whatever you do after she says no is illegal. So if she says no, wait, stop, you need to stop and move on with your life, right? You need to move on with your life. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and ask a legal practitioner. They'll tell you that if she said no and then you said no, come on, it'll be fun, let's do it, put some peer pressure on her. If something goes wrong, it'll always come back to the fact that she said no first, you coerced her, something went wrong, you are responsible, right? So I don't have a problem with orbiting. But just remember, if you do make the move and she says no, you got to stop all communication. You cannot keep trying. You cannot keep pursuing, right? That's illegal. That's illegal. And until a lawyer or a judge tells me that, no, it's all right, you can, if she says no once, twice, you can go ahead and try for the third time. Until a judge tells me that, I'm not doing it. One no, and I'm out, right? Pocketing. Avoiding introducing a romantic partner to friends and family, effectively keeping the relationship hidden. This is the best thing that you want to do. If you want to avoid your friends, having an affair with your wife, with your lover, with your spouse, the best thing you can do is, well, first of all, you shouldn't be having friends and family anyway, living the bachelor life. But if you did, you don't want someone that you like knowing these people, right? You don't want somebody, you don't want your friend suddenly developing a crush on your girlfriend, because one of your friends will. If you found her attractive, somebody else will. Somebody you know is going to find your girl attractive. You bring your girl around, you start doing things like that, one of your friends is going to find her attractive and he's going to make a move. And you don't know what he might crack the funniest joke she's ever heard and fall for him, right? So you absolutely want to do this, right? And I suggest you do this with all your relationships. As soon as that relationship is out of the pocket or out of the pocketing, you need to end it. As soon as your partner indicates that they are available to other people, you need to end it. And I know it sounds extreme, but all you're doing is preventing the inevitable outcome, which is a tragic breakup. And the reason why breakups are so bad after an infidelity is not because you decide to move away. It's because now the counterpart sees the contrast. And I said this before. You're the only one that's gullible enough to pay her bills, that's naive enough to let her live in your house and buy her food and all that. If you end that relationship, she now has to go and figure it out with the guy she had an affair with. Right? This is what happens. Maybe she'll move in with her parents or whatever, but then her parents are gonna say, well, what happened? Why are you coming back? If you leave her and you're paying bills, even 50% of the bills, right, which is never the case, counterparts only pay 16% of the bills at any given time. But if you're paying those bills, providing her a home, providing her transportation, safe transportation, a clean, comfortable home, maybe not the biggest, maybe not the smallest, and food and electricity and hot water and on and on and on. And she leaves you, she's not getting that. She's not moving in from one equal situation to another. There's always going to be a trade-off. And that trade-off is going to be in standard and quality. It's never going to be a trade-off of love. She'll get plenty of love, but it's everything else that she won't get. So, if she indicates that she has availability for other people, right, you need to let her go. Those people need to be paying those bills, not you, right? If a woman's available for other men, the men that she's available to, they need to step up, right? They need to step up and take responsibility. No point in funding your own demise, because you'll be paying for her. just for her to be entertaining another man. No. If she can entertain that man, then that man needs to be paying. Medical, transport, housing, clothing, all that. All that. Put it all on him, right? And immediately they're going to start fighting. There's nothing that ends a relationship more than bills. Nothing. Riz is our next word, and Riz is a short form of charisma, a sense of charm or flirty behavior that allows the person to attract a partner easily. Doesn't that sound too good to be true? So what you're saying here is you have a short form of charisma. So it's the razzle dazzle, the razzmatazz, right? What the French call I don't know what. Je ne sais pas, all right? Va va voom. You have that. So you have this charm and you're flirtatious, and anyone that sees you and meets you instantly falls for you. You are suave, you are charismatic, you are charming. It sounds ridiculous. This sounds absolutely ridiculous. You sound like you just made a clown out of yourself and you're hoping that people like you for foolishness, right? But okay, so be it. Let's say Riz is a short form of charisma, a sense of charm or flirty behavior that allows the person to attract a partner easily. I'd love to see that play out in real life. Roaching, another verb, when you learn that someone you're dating sees several people seriously and never tells you. So this is just cheating. So if somebody that you're dating doesn't tell you that they're seeing other people, right? I don't know if that's such a bad thing. Maybe it is. If they imply that you are the only one, then yes, that's a problem. But if they tell you up front and you accept those terms, then you just took a bad deal. That's all that happened. You just took a very bad deal, and perhaps you shouldn't have, right? But you did. But you did. So that's roaching, right? Dating several people, but lying to one of them. Rusting, a combination of romanticizing and lusting. Romanticizing and lusting, rusting. Okay, I get it. After someone, after someone phase in long-term relationships, where effort and excitement fade, leading to a sense of stagnation. So it's a combination of romanticizing and lust so it's the romance and lust decreasing, right, where effort and excitement fade, leading to a sense of stagnation. This happens in every relationship, by the way. Rusting, right? This is why you have to leave your counterpart, right? You have to leave her if she has been entertaining other men, made herself available for other men, or has just been having an affair. You gotta leave her. You gotta leave her to go live out that exciting life, because they'll be excited together, I assure you, for no more than 26 hours. I'm giving them 1 day and 2 extra hours. On that third hour, it's nothing but arguments. I've been there too. I've been there too, where you're with a counterpart and you're having a great time, and that first hour is great, that first day is great. The second day, things get real. Things get very real. She needs to go here, she needs to get something done. Because while she's spending time with you, right, or while you're spending time with the counterpart, real life is happening. Bills are piling up, reports are due, assignments are due, tasks need to be done, kids need to be fed, and the two of you are just lying in each other's arms. Eventually, that phone rings and it's somebody saying, "Mom, where are you?" And now it's been 25 hours and the two of you need to make something happen. Immediately, the romance is over, right? And enough of that. Like a week later, the effort is gone, the excitement has faded, and they are stagnant. But they'll be worse off than what she was with you. the two of them will be worse off than the situation of the two of you. It's always like that. It's always like that, especially if you got a little bit of money, right? And she's not gonna, I promise you, she's not cheating with some millionaire. And I explained why women are not cheating with millionaires. It's very simple. If you have time between 9 and 3 o'clock in the day, Monday to Friday, it means you're unemployed. And those are the best times for you to go and cheat with someone. Because after 4 o'clock, people are at home. And if your wife is not at home at 4 o'clock, it's like, well, where the hell are you? So she has only between 9 and 3 o'clock to do whatever she wants, right? To cheat and whatnot. And if you're the man that's available between 9 and 3 o'clock, you're a loser. Or you're a young man, or you're a student, or you're somebody living off somebody else, which means you're a loser. There's no billionaire rich man that's available between 9 and 3 o'clock, Monday to Friday, because those are the core business hours anywhere in the world. That's where the real money is made. And everybody knows that. So, if that person has time like that, that's going to be a problem. Because while the two of you are, hugged up, real life is happening and those bills are going to come due. All those people that are at work between 9 and 10, they're going to be sending you bills and statements while the two of you are loved up together. It always falls apart after 26 hours. Some people say it takes months. No, it only takes a day or two. On that second day, things get very real. Reality doesn't wait for you to fall out of love. Reality doesn't even knock on the door, it just comes straight in. A situationship is a romantic, often physically intimate relationship between two people who have not established clear labels or boundaries and have not defined the relationship. So the two of you are just having intimate relations with no commitment, nothing. You just come in, have your intimacy, and then off you go, maybe hang out. Right? This is exactly what I'm talking about. The kind of person that has time for a situationship is the kind of person that has no job. How do you sustain a romantic, physically intimate relationship all day, every day? I can understand why this is the language of young people. Because young people have that time. Students have those hours free, right? Unemployed people have those hours free, and these are usually young people with no responsibilities. But you couldn't pull this off as an adult, and you're not gonna pull this off very much after 25. After 25, that's it. You don't have those hours between, and I'm being generous giving you 25. I mean, as soon as you're done college, which is usually 22 or 23. But as soon as you're maybe 24, I'll be generous. I'll give you till 24. But once you're done college, man, that's all over. Because you're working during those hours, right? And to be fair, you're 24 years old. You should have been working for some time anyway. But yeah, if you're out there having intimate relations with no boundaries and no defined relationship, that is a situationship, right? Sweatpants theory, a noun. The idea that someone is comfortable, like when wearing sweatpants and effortlessly being themselves in a way that makes them more attractive. So when you are being super comfortable in your own skin and it's effortless for you to be you, thereby it makes you more attractive. Am I part of the sweatpants theory? Because I've been a bachelor so long that I wouldn't know what else to be, right? This is just who I am all the time, right? So maybe I'm a part of that. Maybe I'm halfway there because I can be myself effortlessly, but I cannot be certain that this makes me attractive, right? I can't be sure of that. In fact, based on my track record, I have an inclination that I'm not attractive. So I get the sweatpants, but not the theory. I'm only halfway, right? But some people might be like that. You just be yourself, and whoever likes you, whoever doesn't like you, doesn't like you, right? And there are some people who might just want to try and see if that's really who you are. And they'll see that it's true when you leave them. It's like, oh, that really is his personality. He will walk away. Yeah, yeah, I'll walk away. I'm here right now. How do you think I got here? I walked, away from somebody else and ended up here. Wokeship is a verb, an action, rather, woke fishing, I beg your pardon. Woke fishing is a verb characterizing yourself as having liberal or progressive values and beliefs to attract a partner when you don't truly have those values. This is interesting. I don't think I've ever done that. I mean, I'm an independent politically, so I could care less. Really, I could care less what your people's political beliefs and ideologies are. But to be honest, I don't agree or disagree either way. It doesn't really bother me one way or another. But you know, I wouldn't if I wanted to be liked for who I was. I wouldn't fake political allegiance just for that. But if I was practicing the deceptive arts, perhaps. I don't know if I'd be able to pull it off though. But if I was practicing the deceptive arts, perhaps. Perhaps I might pretend to be liberal or woke or conservative or whatever you people call yourselves. I could care less. Either way, I'm independent. I'm independent. If the woke have something that works for me, I'll take that. If the liberals have something that works for me, I'll take that. If the conservatives have something that works for me, I'll take that too. If the independents have something that works for me, I'll take it too. It doesn't bother me one way or another. But if you're practicing the deceptive arts, sure, sure, why not? I don't see the problem. You know, people do it all the time. People do it all the time. They'll fake a religion, they'll fake their qualifications, they'll fake their job. I tell people I'm a lawyer all the time. Never spent one single day in law class. I don't even know what law class is. Legalese 101. Could care less. You know what I mean? But who's gonna know? Who's gonna know? And if I can pretend to be a lawyer, you can pretend to be woke. You can woke fish all day long, my friend. And I hope you catch some of those woke fishes. I hope it works out for you. Let's continue with the last word, zombied. When someone who previously ghosted you suddenly reappears acting as if nothing happened, also known as submarining. Right, so you disappear into the ocean like a submarine and then you just reappear back on the surface. Sun Tzu says, strike where you are least expected, appear where the enemy is not. Right? So disappear, reappear, disappear, reappear. I'm okay with zombieing, or submarining. I'm okay with that. I like that as a strategy. You come in, do your thing, you strike like a thunderbolt, then you disappear back into the night. Sounds like the kind of thing Batman would do. And I support everything that Batman does. But this is the end of the list. And these are the words, right? These are the words that describe what is going on out here. If you were wondering why is it so confusing, why am I being benched or breadcrumbed? Is this relationship fizzing out? Do I have enough riz, right? Or is this relationship rusting? Or perhaps you might be even in a situationship. Whatever it is, right? This is what's going on out here. There's ghosting, there's hardballing, there's kitten fishing, right? Which is deceit. There's all kinds of things happening, and this is a lot. This is a long list of words to even remember, and I don't think I'll even remember what these phrases actually mean. But it is interesting to see how many different ways that a person can be dumped, broken up with, and abandoned in the new modern digital age. We only had one or two ways you could call them, text them, or ghost them. Now they can block you and all kinds of things. It seems to me that now there are endless ways of losing the game, whereas there's only just one way of winning. Right? You meet the girl, you love her, she loves you, you get married, you have kids, and live happily ever after, which you're not. Which you're not. Right? So There's just so many ways of losing this encounter, but so few ways of winning it, right? And this just demonstrates that. This is why I'm such an advocate of freezing your sperm and getting that vasectomy. Because ultimately, you're bound to engage yourself into something where you're going to end up losing the game, losing the encounter, losing your finances, losing maybe even your liberty, your resources, your retirement. There's so much for you to lose and so many different ways for you to lose it. And yet, still, we cannot be certain what we are winning in this romance war. Really, we cannot be sure what we are winning. Because even if you say you have kids, you lose those kids too. You get married, you lose your wife. You buy a house, you lose that house to your wife. It's just I just don't see where the victory is. I really just don't see where the victory is. And today's edification just demonstrates that there are just many, many ways for you to lose and such few for you to win. So do the smart thing, do the wise thing, do the vasectomite thing. Freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy, protect yourself and protect your seed and protect your solitude. This is all that you can do. You can go out there in these romance wars and try and learn all these terms and see if any of them amount to winning. I did not read one term. I did not read one term that indicated a successful relationship. The closest thing that we got to a successful relationship is a situationship. Everything else just indicates to me different levels of failure. Right? The best you can hope for is to be in a situationship, then a relationship, then that relationship rusts out or is rusting, and eventually you get ghosted, right? And then cloaked, right? You get ghosted, and then they cloak you, and then just block you on all possible communications, right? Which is just the ultimate form of rejection, right? So as usual, freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. That's the message for this platform, and it will always be the message on this platform. And I will tie everything to it, right? Every philosophy that I can compare my philosophy to, I will do that. And today, I think this demonstrates even more why you need to get that vasectomy, why you need to freeze your sperm. Because there are just so many ways of you getting this completely wrong and facing dire consequences. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme. I am the Phantom Menace, the voice of the vasectomites, and I thank you once again for your time. I thank you for your patience, and I thank you for your understanding and your attention. And I hope you have a wonderful day.